conference director to share for simplifying the language of the debate. For those that don't know, WBR have a wonderful way of putting up debate titles that involve not just a double but a triple negative. This house does not believe that AI is not an overhyped hype, which means that me and everyone else sits there going, I have no clue. So we now have a wonderfully simple title. We're going to do an Oxford debate. I am delighted to welcome Rad back to the stage and Susan Welsh, one of our co-chairs of the panel. Please, come on up. Now, there we go. Now, for those that don't know an Oxford-style debate, the way this works is there is the title. Very simply, do you believe that digitisation and AI in procurement is overhyped? It's an overhyped hype. And what I'm going to ask you, see, he's scared, right? And he's proposing it.
He wasn't worried about me, that's why.
So what we're going to do, and by the way, Graham Crawshaw wasn't allowed to do this debate because I'm convinced he fiddled the Slido vote last time for those that were there. Right, what we're going to do to start with is we're going to do a Slido vote, and what I want you to do is just vote on the basis of how you feel right now whether digitisation and AI is an overhyped hype. So just vote as you feel. And I'm stood right in the way of the projector, which means I'm going to get told off by the conference director for being in the way of their wonderful audio-visual. Sorry. Now, while you're voting, what's going to happen, we're just going to do a very quick introduction. Then Rad is going to propose the motion for about 5 minutes. Susan is going to oppose the motion for 5 minutes. We're going to take questions from the floor, which they're not going to answer but can use in their summary. Susan will then give a final 2 minutes against. Rad will close, and then you're going to vote again. And the way you're going to vote at the end is on the basis of whether your opinion has changed based on what you've heard here. And we do a swingometer. So there we go. Oh, it's quite close. 55-45. It's almost a Brexit vote. Don't get me started on that. I will lose my self-control. Right, okay, that's quite enough of that. Right, let's go. Rad, quick introduction. You've been here before, but just remind us who you are.
Yeah, so I'm Rad, BP Supply Chain for Flaconi. Flaconi is one of the largest and fastest growing beauty e-commerce player. I look after the end-to-end supply chain. We are in Germany, Austria, Poland, France, and Switzerland, and soon launching in all of the European markets. So I will be reconfirming your understanding that AI is overhyped.
Susan.
Hi everyone, I'm Susan Walsh, founder and MD of the Classification Guru. We are fixers of dirty data, and a lot of that includes procurement spend data. Pepe is my lady over there because she talked about master data and keeping it clean. We work with clients all over the globe and clean, classify, normalise, build taxonomies, and also dabble with a little bit of AI too to see if it can help us along the way.
Fantastic. Susan, Rad, would you like to open the debate with the case that AI is an overhyped hype?
Can I go there or I can start from
No,
there?
you can come if you want. Of course you can. Do what you like.
Oh,
I will give you 30 seconds to go, and then I'm going to tell you to stop. Right.
Cool. Can I start?
Yes, go.
Perfect. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna just reconfirm your understanding. Whatever you have, given the vote is absolutely right. So every technology is, overhyped in a short term, and underhyped in a long term. AI is going through the same cycle. Let me just give you a couple of examples. How many of you have heard about Metaverse 3 years ago, right? It made a company called Facebook to change their name to Meta, right? There was so much of hype about Metaverse. What happened to Metaverse? We all know, right? 3-4 years ago, all of us would have been debating about blockchain. Blockchain would do supply chain, digitalization, blah, 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 blah. We know where we are. Not just that, 1 year ago, Google had announced something called Google AI Agent, which will call on your behalf to a restaurant and, book your table. Google have not launched yet that tool to the wider audience. Let's not forget about the Amazon self-checkout. What happened to that? They launched so-called self-checkout AI-powered store in US. They sold that solution to so many customers, they earned billions of dollars, and eventually they closed the store. And it was eventually investigated and found out that it was not AI, it was just thousands of engineers in India just supporting the whole part, right? So it actually confirmed that AI is just a game played by US big tech giant, and they are just trying to increase their valuation. Let me give you one example. Last year, as per Goldman Sachs, 40% of the S&P 500 company have actually mentioned AI in their financial report. And of all these companies, most of them have got 30 plus valuation in their stock price. Let's also understand that 1 year ago, most of the financial institutions have said that AI would add at least 4 to 6% of the additional GDP, which was around $6 trillion. Within 1 year, they are now saying that no, it will just add 1%. So within 1 year, you saw from 6% to 1%. I'm sure after a year, you will see 0.8% as well. Now, come to ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a great tool if you ask them about digital transformation or digital marketing because you are from procurement. But if you start digging deep into ChatGPT and ask about your procurement domain, you will realize that what you get is a crap, right? Same generic response. Procurement and supply chain is about the whole relationship. Your AI will not build that relationship. Ultimately, human have to do that. Now, if I'm using ChatGPT and also my supplier, what will actually make kind of real difference? It's not the same ChatGPT. Yeah, ultimately, a person's relationship to what actually matters more than anything. Now, we have to also understand. So far, I have not heard about single use case of AI which have actually revolutionized the whole supply chain AI domain, right? What I have seen is just evolutionary use cases. Now, even without AI, these use cases have been there in last 30-40 years. So I'm not sure what would change actually. Not just that, we have to also understand that a normal human being uses just 1 to 2% of the true potential of human brain, right? And only Mr. Albert Einstein has used up to 5% of the whole brain capability. So now we are asking about AI agent to compete with somebody who have just used 1% of the human brain. Imagine what will happen in next 10-20 years when the whole human evolution would happen. ChatGPT would anyway be a kind of downgraded thing. One more thing you all have to understand, right, about this workforce would get eliminated, so on, right? Gartner put this on record saying that yes, it would change the workforce, but it had not done anything as such in the whole use case. Let's also understand one more thing. So-called autonomous cars have not been a new thing. It was launched 10 years ago, right? It has been around that, there will be driverless cars. But what happened? Till now, that so-called autonomous AI-powered car is still not there in our road, right? So it's very, very important to understand that we are actually truly living in a hype era. It might have some fantastic use case in other parts, but certainly for procurement and supply chain, I believe this is a truly hype. Thank you.
Times, well, bravo. Everyone catch your breath a second.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you very much.
Susan.
No notes, flying completely free and wild here. Okay, guys, it's not that at all. It's just AI has been misunderstood, guys. That's all it is. And I think Radarman's just demonstrated my point by talking in a hugely generalized way. Because the reality is that there are aspects of AI that have phenomenally helped businesses. We've heard about, on this stage today, like hours or days of time being saved in RFPs thanks to AI. We have heard, think about, you're talking about overhype of blockchain and blah, blah, blah. Well, actually, let's think back to OCR and document scanning. That was going to take everybody's jobs, and how much has that revolutionized our workspace? And it's still around. And it's just ticking along nicely, supporting us. I think that the other misconception is that when people are talking about AI, it's like that's going to replace everything that we do, and the reality is that AI should augment what we do, so it should be a partnership of humans and technology. So for example, we're building a supplier normalization tool, but there's a little bit of tech in there, and people will be able to, on demand, in 2 minutes, normalise as many suppliers as you have. However, we understand that it's not going to be perfect. So in the background, we'll have a team cleaning that list so that you can then go back and clean it. And so it's really important to have a partnership. But think about automotive and robotics and where that's all come from, and how much AI is in that, and how much that's changed things, and how much in medical it's changed lives and saved lives. And so I think we have to look at individual tasks to actually look at whether AI is good or not. And of course, I cannot come up here and not talk about dirty data, because that is my thing. All of this is really based on really good quality data. Training sets need to have good quality data so that you're not spreading misinformation and bad information and wrong information. And basically, it comes down to people. Data problems are people problems. And a lot of the time, people who are working with data are not necessarily data professionals. And this is again where AI can come in and help, because they can be intimidated by it, and so it's a really good way to augment, as long as you're doing that sense check of whatever you're using it for, it looks right, whether that's in manufacturing, whether that's in procurement, whether that's in sales and marketing. And so it's really important that we look at it as a harmonistic Zen balance of human and technology, which is probably a bit too optimistic, but it really is, it's not one or the other. And it's, yes, maybe some jobs will be replaced, but there'll be other ones that will be created. And think about the hours and days of time that you guys in this room are or could be saving by enhancing your work with the technology. Because we all know, you know, we've seen job reductions and cuts, everybody's overloaded with work, so why would you not want to use something that is hugely benefiting you and your mental health, your balance of life?
30 seconds.
Okay, so let's sum this up. Yes, if we talk about AI in a massive generic bubble, then yeah, it's going to sound overhyped. But if we look at it in specific individual instances, it's not overhyped at all. It just needs to be understood better, and I think that's, you know, communication, education, and embracing it is, I think, what we need for to keep it going.
Susan, bravo. Right, a couple of minutes now. If anybody has any thoughts or questions that you think should be debated or presented, now is your chance to show us that. They're not going to answer you live, but they may choose to include it in their debates. We've got one here. Is there anyone else, just so I can... Oh, one over there, got that, okay. One there.
Great, thank you so much for that debate. It was quite good, intense. I enjoyed it. I think the fact that Susan started by saying there is a misconception in the AI world, that already says there is a overhype. Yeah, because if there is a misconception, it's because too many people are talking too much about it and creating these big expectations which are not there in reality. I don't fully agree with the other side of RAP, which is quite drastic. I agree that there is a point in the middle. We'll get help from AI. It is overhyped. Yeah, we'll not get as much help as many people think, but certainly is there to help with our work life, for sure.
Thank you. And I think we've got two more over here. If you could just, one there, the gentleman there, and then we've got one in the middle, and then we'll return to the summing up.
Yeah, I would agree with Susan in that I don't think it's overhyped on a broader scale, but I think it's overhyped in certain places. And I think, and I don't want to upset your sponsors, but I think it's definitely overhyped on procurement tech companies' websites. I think there's a lot of garbage and buzzwords out there and very little concrete use cases that are out there, so it's nice to actually see some concrete use cases in some of the presentations that you've had this morning, particularly the last one from Michael and his customers. So yeah, I do think there is huge potential, especially when we think that the average category manager spends between a quarter and a third of their time on doing administrative tasks. That is, if that was a manufacturing process, you would have lean consultants crawling all over it.
Wonderful. And last point, just there in towards the middle.
Hi. My question is, do you see the need for more regulation, given that procurement people are generally quite risk-averse people, or they're working for companies that could potentially be risk-averse? The more, if we embrace Susan's perspective and have more AI augmenting processes and activities and capabilities, do you see a need for more regulation or even legislation to do what you're trying to do, and that is to preserve the integrity of data quality?
Wonderful, thank you. We're now going to summarise. I'm going to invite Susan up first for a very short summary of why it is not overhyped. Susan, your time starts now.
Thank you very much. I'm going to talk a lot here. So first of all, I'd like to address the gentleman's comment about if it's misunderstood, it's already overhyped. I'm going to go back to data problems or people problems, and we've seen this with many different tech tools out there. People jump on a bandwagon and they have to have it because their competitors have it. And I'm going to put it back on the people who are buying the product. They're not understanding it before they buy it, and I think that's more of a, my competitors are doing that rather than it's overhyped. I just don't think they understand the functioning properly of what it is capable of or what it's not capable of. Thank you, James. Some great points there. Yeah, I was trying to be kind of neutral and not mention any buzzwords and things like that within this space, but there are a lot of kind of buzzwords, and you just have to
30 seconds.
Again, use your own way, do your own research, and then it'll be great. And then finally, the last question, I can't remember, my head is gone already. But yeah, it's governance. So make sure your data has its coat on, and AI will help with that. Make sure it's consistent, everyone's using the same terminology, standards, processes, it's organised, it's accurate, and then it will become trustworthy. And you can apply that to anything you're doing. So thank you.
Bravo. And Rad, to close for the motion.
Alright, I hope we have got so many procurement AI tool technology partner. I hope they will not blacklist me. But so, I mean, see, it's very important. My point here is that AI might have fantastic use cases in edtech, fintech, fraud detection, and so many different parts. But when it comes to procurement and supply chain, it's totally overhyped. Today we are seeing AI in a washing machine, right? We are seeing AI-powered toaster, AI-powered phone. Now everything is AI, so we have to understand that it's not AI, right? What we call as procurement management, category management, spend analysis, and all these, they are not AI. It's a simple basic algorithm which have been put behind the tool, and they are just selling you as an AI.
30
so
seconds.
it's very, very important to understand that what is AI and what is not AI, right? If you start getting fooled by so-called buzz tool, right, there would be a term that after 5 years there will be one new tool would come, maybe some new technology, and all our supply chain and procurement leaders would be getting sold. So it's very, very important to adopt a tool, adopt a technology by first understanding the real use cases and not just blindly following so-called AI as such. So I still believe AI is totally overhyped in supply chain and procurement domain. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go back to Slido. Remember, vote on what you've heard. Are you with Rad? It is blah, 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 buzzword, blah, blah, blah. Or are you with Susan, which is it is a much misunderstood friendly helper quietly doing things in the background, but it's all about how it has to work with humans. So based on what you've heard, vote again.
I hate losing.
It appears Brexit has widened. Ooh. Ooh. No. $109. I think we're going to call it. Congratulations, Rad. You won the motion. Bravo. Okay, we're going to quickly sprint now because we're going to lunch. If you are on the Creatives workshop, it's in Anthony's room 1. Feel free.